Hi guys, my name is Jackson Utz, and I am the author to the Eternal Lifeline trilogy. This is Eternal Lifeline, which I have on me. This is Crimson Knight, which I have on me, but I do not have Event Horizon on me at the moment. But you can check it out on my website, which is eternallifelineseries.com, and it'll be down in the description below, as well as my other social media, which you can follow, stay updated, and see what I'm going to be doing the next few weeks. I'm actually working on a new book series, which is actually a sequel series to this, and I'm really excited because I have many ideas and I think it's going to be a lot better than the books I wrote before. But what I wanted to talk about today was not necessarily the books that I'm going to be writing in the future, but rather the books I have already written, as I have made as a common theme for my other two videos. But more specifically, we're going to be talking about the story behind how I thought of the idea and what kind of things I went through, what kind of processes I went through to be able to get to where I am right now. So it all started back in May when I was still in quarantine. As you can see, the conditions haven't changed that much, except for the fact that I wrote 3 books. That's the only thing that really changed. I don't know, maybe a few more things, but personally, a lot changed since then, but we still have the same old quarantine going on. And so back in May, I decided that I wanted to do something with my quarantine, and I had during quarantine, I had read that many of the, and I'm not comparing myself to them, but many of the greats like Shakespeare, Isaac Newton, they did their most impressive or most renowned works during a pandemic or something of the sorts. And I thought it was funny because, it's kind of the situation I'm in right now, so why don't I take advantage of that? But I started my story planning back then, and it actually went through a few iterations before I actually got to Eternal Lifeline, and I'll tell you about that right now. When I first started out, though, the story was completely, well, not really completely, but it was different than Eternal Lifeline, obviously. But it shared some of the same themes. We still had the magic aspect, we still had Sebastian's name, but the different part was that Sebastian originally didn't have any magic, and he was in this different area that he'd never seen before, and most of his memories were lost, and he had knowledge of technology that this civilization didn't. But this civilization was able to use magic, so while they were able to use magic, he was able to use his knowledge of technology, and that was the part of the story that actually drove the story ahead and added the interesting aspects to it. The second story I thought of was a story named Lucid, and of course Sebastian again, he was a kid who was trying to lucid dream, and one night he eventually was successful, ending up in this dream world which he could control, and he meets a few people, once again learning about magic, and this time he can actually use it. But the problem was that as the story progressed, his dream became less and less controllable, and it became darker. And what happened there was that Sebastian was dealing with 7 iterations of himself. I guess you could already tell the 7 deadly sins, and you eventually figure out the reason why his dreams are uncontrollable, and that's the whole mystery of the story. So then I finally got to Eternal Lifeline, which I was very proud of, because the very first chapter I wrote, I knew that I wanted to write this, and I knew that I was going to finish the story. It was just a different feeling than the other stories I'd written before. And when I worked through it, finished the first chapter the first night, did a chapter every night, but I consistently added every day, and with that consistency, it built up to make a book that was 460 pages long. And I was actually really surprised with myself that I was able to do that, and I felt like it was a great accomplishment. So when I published it, and I'll actually tell you about self-publishing in another video, I've also kind of touched base on it in the previous videos, so if you want to check that out. But the interesting part was that I wanted to continue and write a trilogy, and I thought of the idea of Crimson Knight. So I wanted to take a break for Crimson Knight, actually, because I had just, overloaded myself with, 22 days of writing, and so I actually took a couple-month hiatus, got my thoughts collected, and thought of a story that would be good enough, and I wrote Crimson Knight. It was a little bit shorter than Eternal Lifeline, but when I finished that, I was proud again, because I was like, oh my goodness, I was actually able to write a second book, a sequel. I didn't stop there. The third book, though, I took a few-month hiatus. I started in November. I stopped for a little bit because I had some schoolwork and some other things that I was focusing on. But right at the beginning of December, I made it a point that I wanted to finish this book before the end of the year, before the end of 2020, and I did. On the very last night of 2020, December 31st, I finished the book. I reviewed it, edited it all the way through, published it, and I had my story published, Event Horizon, and I finished my first trilogy. As for my social media campaign, I guess that's what you can call it, I had actually started designing more posts, making my Instagram feed look nicer, gaining more followers, and actually during a 10-day stretch in February, I sold 50 books, which is insane. I've yet to have another sale since then, so it's a little disappointing, but I'm still trying to get more sold, so we will see how that goes. And currently I am writing my third book. Currently I am writing my new book, which I was about to drop the name. I can't do that. I kind of have an idea of the name, but you will see it's a sequel series of the Eternal Lifeline trilogy. So I am excited to announce that, and within a couple months I should be able to release it. Also, if you stuck around this long, that's awesome. I just wanted to tell you the preview in the video I did last Saturday. I will not be able to get to that preview for a couple weeks because, first of all, it's snowing a lot and I can't get anywhere to actually do what I was going to do. But when I release that, I will tell you guys. It has something to do with, let me lean back and forth without falling on my head. Oh, stretching. It has something to do with the sword right here. And, you'll see what that's about in the future. But that's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to tell you guys some things that I did over the year, and I wanted to update you guys on what I'm going to be planning on doing in the next few weeks. So thank you very much for watching, and check out the description below to see all my social media and my website.